Hey everybody, welcome to my chaotic life. No, I don't have a closed studio. No, we can't turn off the TV in the background because I got to keep the kid busy while I meal prep for the next hour. I am a single mom. I work a full-time job. I'm a bikini competitor who trains about 15 hours a week. I eat 42 meals per week. This week's food is costing about $70. If you are interested in getting my full meal plan, grocery list, and recipes, shoot me a message because for the first time ever, I'm going to be offering that for free for all of my subscribers. Here we have just over $70 worth of food that I'm going to turn into 42 meals. So let me go over where everything comes from and what we have. I did not calculate in the eggs or the peanut butter into today's meal or this week's meal cost, so that's kind of a separate thing. Egg Whites International, if you contact them and tell them you found out about them through Amanda-Lynn Eats, they will honor the price that I pay for you guys. So for this week's meal plan, for me, it's $15 for the whole week for the cost of my egg whites. These are going into my breakfast only this week. Sometimes I also have them as my last meal of the day, but for this week, it's just going to be for breakfast. I right now am using just Muscle Farm protein powder. It is on coupon at Costco for $30 and it makes 65 servings. So I feel that this is a pretty good value. It's costing me a total of $7 because I'm having 2 shakes a day for this week. When you are purchasing whey protein powder, you want to look for 5 or less grams of carb and at least 20 grams of protein to fit any meal plan that I'm going to put you on at least. So that is the protein powder for this week. These items I purchased at Sprouts. This is 3 cups of arborio rice. You probably didn't know this, but arborio rice actually has more protein than brown rice or black rice or basmati rice. It has a little bit fewer carbs than brown rice, but overall more calories. I'm going to be using this rice to make a fava bean and asparagus cold rice salad that I'm going to use as some of my carbs this week. The oatmeal was purchased at Sprouts. This is all organic oatmeal. I have about a half a cup every morning. This is the only item that's not getting cooked up in this next hour. So I'm just going to throw this in the pantry, and each morning I'll eat a half a cup of oats. I also purchased organic sweet potatoes, some standard ground beef, because this is what was on sale at Sprouts. So what I do is I just cook it off and I drain off the extra fat. So I end up with the macros of purchasing 97% lean beef. That's what I calculate for because I will drain off the fat, and I'll show you guys when we cook it. I needed 3.5 pounds of chicken breast today. I'm going to show you how I cook these. That I'm going to leave separate and just season it with pepper only so that I can use it in some different meals. So these items came from Sprouts. Let me show you guys right here. This is what you saw in my grocery cart for $26. So that was Sprouts. Over here I have what came in my CSA farm box. If you message me to get my shopping list, I will just have you purchase it at Sprouts or whatever other grocery store you go to. I'll be honest, by using a CSA, I am overpaying, but I am paying for the fact that this food was grown at my son's school, and it's a program that I sponsor. This fancy looking veggie right here is kohlrabi. If you don't go to Whole Foods or you don't see this at the store, if you're going to follow along on my plan, you can just purchase extra kale or chard and a little bit extra sweet potato, but we're going to cut this up and roast it with the sweet potatoes. And the greens are actually going to get cooked up with some onions as a cooked veggie for the week. The kale and chard is going to get cooked up with the beef, so that's what that's for. We're going to throw green onions in with that. The rosemary is actually going to go with the sweet potatoes. I think I already told you, fava bean asparagus salad. Ooh, I forgot to tell you, fresh basil is going to go in there with some lemon. I've got some salad greens that we're going to cook up, or not cook up, sorry, chop up. A couple of the meals for the week will be just a salad. And I think that's about it. Oh, this is leftover from last week. It's looking pretty limp. In fact, that one's going to get tossed out. But the rest is good enough, parsley and Swiss chard, to get cooked into my eggs for the week. So that's what that will be. Alrighty, time to get cooking. If you've ever bought a set of knives, you have probably seen one that comes in this odd shape. This is the boning knife. It's intended for you to debone a chicken or some other cut of meat. The only time I really ever use it is to slice my chicken breasts in half horizontally, because when I try to grill them whole, they're much too thick. So I did that with all 3 chicken breasts, and I'm just going to throw those into the grill pan that I have hot here. About 8 minutes on each side. I won't even set a timer. But this I will do in 2 batches while I am prepping everything else. I'm just going to get that going. So about 8 minutes, then I'll flip it. And again, I don't season my chicken when I meal prep. That way it can meld with whatever flavor, whether it's a salad or a cooked veggie. I just keep it separate. Just flipped over those chicken breasts. I have here a pot of boiling water into which I am going to throw my shelled fava beans. So fava beans come in these pods, and then inside of the pods, each of the beans is in a light colored kind of a sleeve. So you're going to actually take them out of that sleeve and separate them. So those are going to get dumped into the boiling water along with my chopped asparagus. And I'm going to parboil these for just like 3 minutes. So Alexa, set a timer for 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, I'm using a slotted spoon to remove my asparagus and fava peas to an ice bath. So I'm going to let those cool down. We are using the ice bath just to stop the cooking. And I'm not going to stress about the little bit that's in there still. And I'm going to dump in my arboreño rice. We are going to boil this as if it was pasta. It's going to be very different than if we were making risotto, which is what you typically do with arboreño rice. We're just going to boil it. I'm thinking about 10 to 12 minutes. Yeah, maybe 15. We'll see. I'll let you know when it's all done. So I used my knife to remove the kohlrabi leaves. We are going to saute these up with some onion and garlic as one of the veggie sides for the week. I used my knife to peel off, the stem and the rougher outside edge of the kohlrabi. I will discard that part. And then what's left, this bulb here, is going to get sliced up or chopped up, I should say, into the same size as my 2 sweet potatoes that I have. I just toss my rosemary on top. I will pour on, we're going to call it a tablespoon of olive oil, just a tiny, tiny bit. Help it cook up. If you're not worried about sodium, you can go ahead and sprinkle on some pink sea salt. I'm going to skip it this time. It's going to roast in a 400-degree oven for about 20 minutes. Sweet potato and kohlrabi is about to go in the oven. Flipped the second batch of chicken. The first batch of chicken's already done, so we're just about finished with the chicken for the day. I boiled over my arboreño rice. I'm so mad, but 10 minutes seemed to be all that this took. So we're going to pull it off and we're going to drain it, and then I'm going to spread it on a sheet to cool. All of my chicken is cooked up. Now, I do something different than a lot of people do when I meal prep. I leave my chicken whole, and I just will store it like this. The night before, I will portion out each of my meals. By doing that, the chicken stays much more moist and doesn't dry out as bad. So I just leave it whole. I will let it cool on the counter before I put on the lid and put it in the fridge. I got the cutest gift this week from a new friend. Gave me the gift of thyme. Isn't that adorable? Anyway, so I'm going to put in a tablespoon of thyme into the ground beef as it cooks, as well as a half a teaspoon of white pepper and crushed red pepper. I'm just going to cook this till it's totally browned, about 10 minutes. The beef is almost done cooking, and I've got 1 minute left on my sweet potatoes. Those are about to come out. I sliced 6 giant mushrooms. I set 2 cups aside because that's going to go in the beef dish. The rest I chopped up along with that wimpy looking rainbow chard and a whole bunch of parsley. I'm going to mix this all up. It is going to go into the base of 21 muffin cups. And after I get those all portioned out, we're going to pour in the eggs. So for me, to fit my macros for this week, I have 6.5 cups of egg whites and 6 whole eggs. So we're going to pour those into 21 portions. That's 3 portions per day for breakfast. I had miscalculated because I forgot about the egg yolks this week. So it's actually 28 muffin tins. This is all going to go into the oven. I haven't done it with 3 different trays before. I'm thinking it should take 15 to 16 minutes in a 400-degree oven. I drained off the ground beef in a bowl in the sink, so I'm pretty confident that this is a much lower fat percentage. I didn't actually scrub clean the pan. There's a tiny bit of oil left in the pan from the beef, but not much. I'm going to throw in the 2 cups of sliced mushrooms. To that, I am going to add the chopped stems of the purple cabbage, the chopped stems of the collard greens, and the green parts of one of my spring green onions. I'm going to leave the spring green onions and the basil till the very end of this dish. It's not going to cook. Right now I'm going to saute the stems in with the mushrooms. And in just a minute or two I will add, it's probably only like 4 cloves of garlic, but some of them are very small. So I'll mince those into these stems. While that is cooking, I'm going to chop up all the kale and chard. I absolutely love the smell of sauteing mushrooms and garlic. One of my favorite things in the world. So now that the mushrooms are nice and brown, we're going to add in what ended up being 8 cups of Swiss chard, green Swiss chard, and purple kale. I'm going to saute this for a few seconds, and then I'm going to cover it and let it kind of steam down. Usually takes about 4 to 5 minutes. Here we have the greens all sauteed down. I turned off the heat. If you were going to serve this tonight, you would want to warm the meat through, but I'm just going to stir the meat into the greens and store that as is. Over here to finish off our rice salad. So my rice has been sitting on the counter cooling this whole time, so it's nice and cool. And I drained the asparagus and fava beans. There's no ice cubes left. So I'm going to set that to the side. In this bowl, I'm going to put 4 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar, 1.5 teaspoons of pink Himalayan salt, and the juice of a half of a lemon that I cut over here. Juice of a half a lemon. I'm going to whisk that together, and then I will stir in the veggies and then the rice. Here we go. Here is the kale beef dish all cooked up and ready to get stored. I'm not going to bother with cleaning this pan. It had cooked ingredients, so it's fine to just use. Didn't think I'd get away without using my Amanda-Lynn this week. I will slice this onion into here. It's going to be caramelized onions with the kohlrabi, which I've sliced up. We'll get started on that in a second. Here I have my vinegar dressing stirred in veggies and arborio rice, and I have my basil and green onions. So those are going to go and get stirred in here, and that is finished. That's ready to, no kohlrabi in there. That's just ready to go and ready to eat. I will tell you, it is not salty. If you are not watching your sodium, I would probably double the amount of salt in there, but I'm trying to keep everything really low sodium. Alrighty, so I'm going to slice up these onions, and I'll show you that in a second. The secret to caramelizing onions versus sauteing them is not to stir them too much. So I let these sit already for about 4 minutes. And I'm going to kind of flip them and let them sit a little longer. You end up with more of a caramelized onion versus a more liquidy sauteed onion when you do it this way. Got those all flipped. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let these sit a little bit longer. I'm going to spread them out in here. Hard to do looking through a camera. Sorry, guys. Alrighty, get them going a little longer. And then I'm taking this whole head of the top of the kohlrabi. Again, if you're not working with kohlrabi, just an additional bunch of kale would work for this recipe, or some spinach or Swiss chard. We're just giving ourselves a variety of veggies to eat throughout the week. And these will end up getting eaten with a chicken meal. So I'm going to cover this and let it saute down for about 4 minutes. And here is our finished product, an entire week's worth of food for less than $71. We've got our egg cups with oatmeal each morning. I do have a protein shake after work, and then again before bed with peanut butter. I also get peanut butter and a rice cake during the day. For meats, I've got my 3.5 pounds of cooked up chicken, and I've got 2 pounds of beef cooked up with kale and mushrooms. For veggies, I have salad greens, and I have kohlrabi cooked with onions, some caramelized onions. For carbs, I have sweet potato and kohlrabi with rosemary all baked up, and also my arborio rice dish with some veggies already mixed into it. Some people will portion out their meals for the week. If that's your style, you could absolutely go ahead and do it at this point. I do not do that for a couple reasons. Like I said, the chicken gets dried out when you cut it up. The second reason is I like to mix and match my food, so I'm going to have a variety. Some days I'll have salad on chicken. Some day I'll have chicken on salad. Some days I'll have the kohlrabi greens with the chicken. Some days I'll have the sweet potatoes with the beef. Sometimes I'll have sweet potatoes with chicken. I'll just mix it up. So that's how I like to run my week, so I have some variety. But there you go, $71 for 42 meals for the week.